In today's Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2 video, we are going to be pitching every modern army against each other in an epic arena battle. Team 1 over here is the Russian army, and they have a number of melee-only Russian sleeper agents backed up by the modern Russian army and 40 TOS-1 missile systems in the back. The United Nations Army is also involved with M24A1 machine guns, I think is that, M249 machine guns, I think, as well as LN6A1 sniper rifles, MP5s, and AUGs. I'm not a big gun person, so correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below. That's what they're labeled as in the game. And then Flechetta BTRs. The United States Army is rocking 200 M1A2 Abrams, as well as FBI agents who somehow got conscripted into the military, and finally, the modern US soldiers. Now, Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2 only allows for 4 teams, so the final team is a bit of a hodgepodge of all of the remaining modern units in the game. So, we've got insurgents from the Middle East. We've also got ourselves some North Korean soldiers back here. And then finally, we've got ourselves some Vietnamese soldiers back this way. And they are backed up by 500 attack drone robots. So this should be an incredible battle royale. Be sure to comment down below who you think is going to win this thing, and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We're working our way towards 600K. Be incredible to hit it soon. Either way, guys, thanks for watching. Let's get into it. What's up, gamers? I'm here to tell you about Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is an amazing place where you can get some fire deals on all sorts of video games. Seriously, it's like 60 to 95% off, as you can see here. These are all of the Star Wars titles they have. They literally have every Star Wars title. You can also get XCOM here, Men of War Assault Squad 2. All of the games I play on the channel you can buy here for extremely cheap prices. If you use my affiliate link in the description, it helps me out a ton. So thank you guys for listening to this sponsorship, and thank you to Instant Gaming for continuing to sponsor the channel. Okie dokie, gamers, let's go ahead and press start right here, and the armies begin to march out. I tried to balance this as best I could, but I don't really know if it's fully balanced or not, because you can't really know until the action actually starts. But I tried to gauge the strength of each unit and each army, and also give them a variety of units. I long for the day when we might finally get more than just 4 teams in battles, because that would be incredible. Over here we got the TOS-1s already firing out. You can kind of see the fire. The sky is very bright, so it's kind of getting lost in there. But they're just out of range, so most of the rockets are actually fizzling out before they're even hitting the ground, which is not fantastic. But there goes those BTR Flechettas firing away at some of the sleeper agents over this way. They're getting hit, but how much health do they have? They have 300 health. That's fairly decent, and they're still kind of far away. So they're able to get in there pretty close, and I'm not entirely sure if they're actually going to end up meleeing anyone, but it's more of just like a yeet in the infantry and then back it up with the range units behind. So those TOS-1s need to start actually landing their shots anywhere near the United Nations Army just to kind of get their footing down. That would be great. Over this way, M1A2 Abrams start to sprinkle some fire into these United Nations soldiers. That's some good looking stuff right there. Woo-wee! Very nice. Love to see. Alright, they are actually kind of killing it over here with all that M1A2 fire, and the United Nations didn't send any BTRs this way, so these guys are not going to be getting any vehicle support, but they are getting on in there with their machine guns, their sniper rifles. The whole shebang is going off over this way. That was a direct hit. Oh, those explosions are extraordinarily deadly. Holy smokes. Wowza. And actually, it looks like this M1A2 is down. Yeah, a few M1A2s are already going down due to the small arms fire that's coming on in. But the FBI agents haven't even really reached the front lines yet. Over here they have. Okay, nice. They're actually getting some fire off over this way. So it seems like the U.S. is doing decent, though could be doing a little bit better in terms of small infantry fire. Over this way, the United Nations is now just pouring fire into the sleeper agents that are charging, full yeeting their way through here and getting absolutely gunned down like a smorgasbord board of guts. The TOS missile systems over this way that are firing, they're finally hitting some of their targets, but they are just really, really far away. And so most of their shots aren't actually hitting, but now they're starting to get a few in there, which is good to see. All right, let's go over here to the random side of things. So we've got some more Russians over here fighting the randos. And the randos seem to be gunning down all of these guys. Where are the modern Russian soldiers at the moment? Okay, there's a few in the way back over here, but I think most of them are probably still back this way. Yep, here are the modern Russian soldiers running on in, and they might finally reach the front lines fairly soon. There we go. They're getting a few shots off, which is good. Oh, TOS shots are... Oh, they're still just slightly too far away to actually land on the ground, which is such a shame. All right, let's go back over here and check out how the U.S. is doing against the UN. Honestly, the UN's kind of coming out swinging right now. Got to give them props. They're doing pretty well, although they are getting pretty gunned down over here now as the United States starts to kind of hit their stride over here. And over this way in the city itself, the UN is also getting kind of gunned down, but they didn't really send a big amount of soldiers over that way, so it's kind of understandable that they're getting gunned down. Most of their forces are over here. How are the US doing against the random hodgepodge units over this way? Let's find out, baby. It looks like, I mean, they're taking some losses, but they're fighting a much smaller unit of soldiers, so it seems like most of these guys are dying pretty good. The Vietnamese soldiers over here getting gunned down pretty good. Oh, but the attack drones are out in spades, and they're actually pretty effective. They're pretty decent, but yeah, it seems like there's just not enough of them over here to really make too much of a difference. Again, it seems like this is a case of the U.S. fighting the smallest portions of each enemy army, because the bigger portion of the army over here has just defeated the Russians that came for them, and so these hodgepodge units are going to be able to either go up here to fight the UN and the remaining Russians, or to the other side and fight the US. The Russians, I think, are having the hardest time because they are fighting the two largest portions of these enemy armies, and the United States is having the easiest time because they are fighting the smallest portion of each army. And so that might come back and bite the Russians in the buttocks for fighting such hard units. Oh, some of those TOS systems are hitting back here now, which is good for them. They are catching some strays back here and actually taking some damage, it looks like. But they're still firing out, which is good for the Russians. Although, overall, this battle right now is not looking too good for the Russians. And the United Nations came out very, very strong. They've definitely taken some losses. I would say, like, in terms of standings right now, number 1 is probably going to be the United States. Number 2 is probably going to be the hodgepodge random unit. Number 3 is the UN, and then in last place is the Russians, who only have 820 soldiers left, mind you. And they've got their TOS systems, and that's pretty much it. TOS systems plus a few randos, so not a great look for them. Let's kind of go see what direction most of these guys are moving in. So over here, we've got the hodgepodge units going up against the remaining United Nations units that are over this way. So two pretty beefy units coming at each other. The United States is about to have the easiest W of their entire lives because this is ridiculous. And then we do have some US soldiers going against hodgepodge units up here as well. Keep in mind, those TOS systems are still firing, which is hilarious that they haven't shut those down. Literally, there's 41 Russians left alive. 40 of those are TOS systems. What is that? That's crazy. So yeah, over here we've got US soldiers moving in on some more hodgepodge units. More hodgepodge units moving in on more UN units over this way. And the TOS is continuing to cut into pretty much everyone. So the Russians are still hilariously getting very, very involved in this battle with these TOS systems, purely because they're so far away from everyone else that they're able to just continue to artillery fire into all of them. There's like 5 UN soldiers over there currently shooting at them, but I mean, like, that's not gonna do that much against armor. You need at least a couple hundred soldiers over here to do it. So maybe these hodgepodge units come over and actually manage to do some damage to those with their attack drones and stuff like that. But right now, they're getting artillery struck at a distance. It's not good. That is crazy. The UN is now, they're dying out, man. They had such a strong start to this thing. Honestly, where are their Flechetta tanks? There's a couple back here. Oh, I think the rest of them died over here to TOS fire. The TOS systems did crazy things to this battlefield. And the modern US soldiers are still vibing out over here. They're just chilling. They know they can let the enemies fight amongst each other. I mean, they did kill quite a number of UN soldiers over here, but they took losses themselves, and it was a small, weak UN army. And so now the US is literally chilling over here. They have a small contingency over here dealing with an even smaller contingency of hodgepodge troopers, which is hilarious. But the US, they haven't even fought in half of this battle. They have purely taken the easy route in this whole entire thing by just vibing out and taking on multiple very, very weak enemy units. They've outnumbered every single enemy army that they've fought because the enemy armies were all fighting each other. It's not even the US being really, really smart about their engagements during this. It's purely the fact that every single enemy unit decided to send their secondary unit to fight the US and their primary unit to go fight other armies. It's so crazy. All right, over here, it looks like finally the hodgepodge armies are getting close enough to actually take shots into these TOS systems. So that's good, but the TOS systems are still alive and firing because not that many of the hodgepodge units are close enough. I think the United Nations is just about dead. There are just a couple BTRs left alive for the United Nations units, and I think that one just died. So the United Nations is completely donezo. The TOS systems over here are slowly dying, like this one's dead. There's only 30 of them remaining from the starting 40, but they're still pouring in fire to these guys. They're still absolutely pouring fire into the North Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, the Koreans, and the Middle Eastern insurgents. They're just pouring fire into these blokes and absolutely crushing them with missile fire. There's 24 of them now remaining. I mean, literally, the US Army just waited for everyone to exhaust themselves. That is insane. The hodgepodge army is now at 40,000 units, and the US Army is at 102,000, and they're only just now coming over here and engaging with the hodgepodge units. Look at this. Here's hodgepodge units over here. Finally, the US has made it to the main fight, and they're over here and they're fighting. They are taking some L's, some losses here. I mean, I would be absolutely shooketh if the US ended up losing this. That would be the craziest differential of all time. M1A2 Abrams still backing up the US infantry, which is great. I don't think really the hodgepodge units have any of their attack drones left alive, so that'll be pretty problematic for them. It's mainly just infantry going up against infantry plus tanks, which is definitely harder. I mean, they are getting a lot of US kills here, so good for them. But overall, the US has managed to maintain their soldiers for so long. Also, there's still 7 TOS systems over here firing away. The Russians still somehow wouldn't it be crazy if the Russians somehow win this thing? I don't think they will, but that would be crazy. Now there's only 5 of them, and they're all just vibing out over here, firing into these guys and ruining the hodgepodge unit's chances of a victory even further because they're distracting these guys and getting a multitude of kills on them. There's only 10,000 hodgepodge units left. They're getting heavily invaded by the United States soldiers over this way to the point where it's just not even fair anymore. This clearly was not even close to being a competitive battle for the United States Army. And it's purely because they just chilled. It turns out vibing out and just chilling is the most optimal way in war. So they killed all them. The TOSs are finally dead, just in time for the US to come up. And there's just a few hodgepodge units left alive over here. So let's go ahead and time-lapse and watch as the US comes up the mountain and kills the last hodgepodge units. 97,800 versus 3,100. Oh my god. Well, boys, the United States just took it home. So, with the victor, let's go ahead and mess around a little bit and see how they do against every other army in the Earth. All right, so I've given the U.S. double their amount of soldiers, just so they actually stand a chance here. And let's see how this goes. I don't know. Everyone's on attack mode. This is just a little bonus battle at the end here for fun. Because the U.S. won and did it in such a cowardly way that we're going to have everyone gang up on them. Maybe we'll do a full video of this actually balanced in the future, because it's kind of a fun concept to have, like, the U.S. Army versus every other army on Earth. It's just kind of interesting. But either way, they're engaging with the Middle Eastern insurgents first, it seems. Both sides exchanging pretty decent fire here. The Abrams are further down this way. They should be firing, right? Yeah, there you go. We got some Abrams firing on the battlefield here. We should be able to cut down at least a number of these insurgents before they really get into the U.S. soldiers here. A few seem to be peeling off to head towards the Russians and the UN, but nothing crazy. The Russians trying to fire their TOS systems. That is going to be out of range. Yeah, they fizzle out before they even come close. They didn't even get over the pyramids. My God! Come on, son. Right now the U.S. has 22,000 kills. The insurgents have 7,000. So the U.S. is a little bit better than the insurgents, it seems, on the battlefield. But actually, a number of their Abrams are getting taken out over here, and that will seriously impact the U.S. fighting war machine to come. And then, of course, we've got the UN still charging on in here, and once they make it, then the U.S. are going to be fighting a two-front war. And that will be a whole lot harder. So let's check out a little time lapse of this. Okay, the U.S. is actually kind of dominating right now, but that could always change pretty soon, as now they're starting to get flanked and stuff like that. The UN is coming up over the hills here and hitting the U.S. pretty hard. Then we've also got the Russians coming in over this way. TOS systems still all the way in the back, so that's really not helpful at this point in time, which is one of the strongest actual items on the battlefield. So kind of a shame that's still super far back there. Also, we've got the Russian sleeper agents charging on in, which is obviously not the greatest fighting force. So the U.S. is actually getting a crazy number of kills on them. But then down this way, we've got the U.S. fighting the United Nations. Pretty tooth and nail here. Pretty tooth and nail. But you got to remember, this is also a little over double what the U.S. had in the first battle. So it's not completely accurate to if the U.S. had been ganged up on by everyone, because they definitely would have lost that. But right now, they're actually putting up a decent fight, and they could potentially win, maybe. So let's just keep it going. Well, there we go, boys. The U.S. didn't end up winning, and the UN stands tall, as well as with some Russian soldiers in here as well. Very nice. Love to see. I don't think any of the insurgents or anything like that did survive, though, in the end. So rip potato chip to them, and rip potato chip to the modern U.S. Army. Either way, guys, this was a pretty fun video. I hope you guys did enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe and notifications on, and comment down below what other ideas you guys have for me for videos you'd be interested in seeing. Either way, guys, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.